Haya, makofi tafadhali. Tunakaribisha mgeni wetu mheshimiwa. Karibu sana Bwana PCS. We are excited to have your presence with us. We started our program and we are happy that you've come to grace our second anniversary. We are celebrating our second anniversary as the State Department for Diaspora Affairs, even as we are celebrating the Diaspora Day. In the morning we had, please be seated, because we already did the national anthem, we already did the prayers. In the morning we had a session where we had directors explaining what we do in the State Department for Diaspora Affairs, as well as officers who work in the State Department. They shared with us a little bit of what it is that they go through. So we are happy that you have come. We want to share with you part of what that we do, and we welcome you to watch two very short videos on what it is that we do. Directors, please welcome to sit at the front. We welcome you to watch a short video, two actually, very short, 1 minute and 2 minutes, of some of what we have done. Romel, please. In the meantime, could Komora, Adan, Bentura, and come to the front? Komora, Bentura, Deborah, and Adan, please come to the front as we watch the video.
I'm from Kenya. I've been here in Lebanon for 2 years. I've finished my contract and pali tuko hapa sahi ni shelter. Like tumefurahia kuona Kenyan diaspora wakikuja kutuangalia vile tunaendelea, kama tunakula vizuri, kama tunalala vizuri. We are grateful for everything.
Kwa majina naitwa Rena kwa Mkongaro, I'm a Kenyan citizen. Nilikuja hapa Lebanon last year August. Kwa kukuja kutuona hapa mahali tuko shelter. Nimeshukuru sana, tunawapongeza sana kukuja kutuona hapa mahali tuko Lebanon. Tunashukuru sana.
Kwa majina naitwa Florence Nyamoita. Nashukuru sana kwa serikali kwa kutuma State Department for Diaspora Affairs kwa kutuma watu wake kukuja hapa kutusaidia, kututoa hapa kwa mabomu venye tulikuwa tunafanya kazi. Mabomu zilianza kutubomiwa na tumekaa tu na hard time kwa hii country venye tuko hapa, na tunashukuru sana kwa sababu ya kutukumbuka, na asante sana kwa Madam Roslyn Njogu kwa kutukumbuka, na tutarudi nyumbani tukiwa salama. Asanteni sana kwa kutukumbuka na tunafurahia sana, tutarudi nyumbani tukiwa salama.
Kwa majina naitwa
I'm Stalo Nozere, a student at KICC Friends University, pursuing a Bachelor of Science in Mathematics and Information Technology. I heard about diaspora kwa mtandao, alafu nikaona nikuje nitembee nione baada ya kumaliza shule nitafanya nini, because I'm going for my final year. because nimeona most of the people wana apply na wana make it, wanaenda majuu ama aje majama. So pia sisi tunapenda tukimaliza shule tupate hiyo chance ya kwenda majuu, tuomoke hata sisi. Nataka kupeleka shukrani zangu kwa Dr. Musalia Mudavadi ambaye ni cabinet secretary na Roslina Njogu ambaye ni PS. Tunashukuru sana kwa mchango wenu wa kutupeleka majuu.
Makofi tafadhali. Those are short videos of testimonials of the people we work with. Excellency, I would now invite our PS to come and do a quick, rapid question session with this eloquent team, which is here to just speak a little bit of what it is that we do. It will be a short session just to give us a short snippet of what it is that we do. Makofi tafadhali, we encourage the PS.
Thank you very much, Ambassador Helen. Let's please give Balozi another hand clap. PCS, we're very happy that you could join us as the head of this ministry to see the work together with us that we have been able to do in the last 2 years. And as we did a little bit earlier this morning, we spent some time hearing experiences of officers who work at the SDDA. It is one thing for me and for other senior officers to come and give you, information about our mandate and all the things that we do. But we think it's extremely important in the spirit of intergenerational dialogue to have conversations with younger officers who serve within the SDDA to tell us a little bit about what they do. So we'll start with Komora. Komora, maybe you could tell us a little bit about what you do at SDDA and what your experience has been.
Thank you so much, Madam PS. So, first of all, PCS, PS, and dignitaries and all ambassadors present, thank you so much for hosting us. And basically, our job at the State Department for Diaspora Affairs has been very, very vital in shaping up foreign policy. As it is, ever since we came to State Department for Diaspora Affairs, our job has been to mingle with Kenyans, explain to them what we usually do, and part of this explanation is getting them to understand how diaspora is very important. Before the State Department came in, it was very hectic, to say the least, but I'm glad that particular phase went through.
So Komora, let me ask you some questions.
Yeah.
You're one of the, I want to say oldest, but only in the sense of the passage of time as opposed to umri, right? So you have been at the State Department for Diaspora Affairs from the beginning. You're one of the officers that I found at the department, at the then division or unit. What has been your experience in the transition from being the Diaspora and Consular unit, directorate, to now being a State Department? What has the experience of the transition been like for you?
Thank you so much for that question. It has been, we have grown through leaps and bounds, that I can say for sure. Ever since we were Consular and Diaspora Affairs Directorate, it was a very small directorate under the Ministry of Foreign Affairs back then. And we can say back then, we didn't have the scope as we have now. The scope was very limited. And the officers that we were back then were more or less incapacitated to be able to execute what we were supposed to do. Given the numbers, we were only, give or take, 6 or 7 officers, and we had to take care of around 4 million Kenyans who are abroad. That in itself can tell you the amount of work that we were supposed to do.
So about an officer for a million people, about 800,000 people per person.
Yes.
Very well.
Yes.
So Komora, you serve in the Skills and Expertise Division, is that correct?
Yes, I did.
Yes, you did. Could you, and where do you serve now? You're not in Skills and Expertise anymore?
Right now I've shifted. Now I'm in Liaison and Partnerships Division.
All right. So could you tell us a little bit about your experience on a day-to-day basis when, and allow me to pick on, because you served for a long time at Skills and Expertise Division, on your work, particularly on our Diaspora Jobs project. And if I might push you a little bit, because I have worked with you, I know you served on a mission as we were working on a project for diaspora jobs in Canada. Maybe you can tell us a little bit about that.
Thank you so much. Under Skills and Expertise Division, we was tasked with looking for jobs for Kenyans outside Kenya. And I can speak about one of our core values, which is innovation. We had to become innovative in how we approach this particular problem. In terms of policy formulation, we had to come up with new innovations in order to be able to attract job seekers and also bring the people who have jobs abroad, bring them into a singular platform so that we can be able to increase the number of Kenyans who are going to benefit from this particular venture. On the Canada, this fell under Wakulima Maju. We've been trying to look at how best we can be able to innovate jobs from Canada in order to benefit Kenyans here under the Wakulima Maju project. This is part of the seasonal work and through agriculture, which we're trying to come up with so that Kenyans can be able to go to Canada and be able to benefit from this seasonal work, specifically in picking.
Okay, thank you, Komora. And when you served in, let me ask you a different kind of question. What has been very quickly, one of your hardest days working at the SDDA? What has been a most difficult day for you working here?
This takes me back to now when I served under welfare division. I was the desk officer for Saudi Arabia before my other colleagues came in. And this was during the transition period when we were still under a directorate and the State Department came in. The work, yes, it was very, very challenging, but among the most difficult is when one of the Kenyans who had his sister abroad, and unfortunately this was in Lebanon. And you can imagine the kind of distress that this person, this was a brother who came in and was trying to repatriate this person, but he didn't know how to do it. And he came in, I remember, on a Friday afternoon, when literally everything was more or less like on a dead stop. How we do it is in Lebanon has accreditation in Saudi Arabia. And in all these Gulf countries, there's nothing that can be done on a Friday because we have to respect the religion. So on a Friday afternoon, this Kenyan wanted services immediately. And he was more or less unruly, and I was the one who was called upon to more or less talk to him. And there was no dialogue that happened. It was more or less like a confrontation. We are used to such, but it wasn't in that kind of manner. And I was threatened, actually, that I'm going to be exposed in the news because I'm a civil servant and I'm not serving. So, unfortunately, or fortunately, yes, I did get, I saw myself in the news. I was told by my colleagues that my clip is trending online. And I initially wondered what to do, but I called my director immediately back then, Ambassador Olo, and I told him exactly what happened, and he gave me the green light. He told me everything that I had done up until then was okay. So being exposed to to the news, it doesn't really, you can't really get any kind of preparation for this. There's no induction that can allow you to be prepared for such kind of negative limelight. But we really handled it, and I'm glad the sister was able to come back.
Thank you very much, Komora. Indeed, let's clap for Komora. Indeed, sometimes the work that we do and serving people often on their worst day can be very challenging. And when we do have to serve Kenyans on the day that they have lost somebody abroad or somebody has died, can be very difficult. But we've been able to overcome these challenges. I do hope Mr. Burugo is now here and he'll be able to join me on stage. Thank you very much, Komora. Bentura, maybe you can say a little bit about what you experience working at, what you do at the State Department and what your experience has been.
Thank you very much. The Prime Cabinet Secretary, the PS, dignitaries, colleagues, good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
My name is Bentura Njagi. I joined the State Department in April, the year 2023. I work in the office of the Principal Secretary as an admin. My work involves, the Office of the Principal Secretary works as, it's the core office that connects all the departments in the State Department. So my work is to ensure that my office, the Office of the Principal Secretary, is connected, there is workflow, proper communication of information from the Office of the Principal Secretary to other departments.
Thank you, Bentura. And what has the highlight for you working at the SDDA been? I am aware that all officers who work in our department, whether they are foreign service officers or economists or whoever they are, or administrators, end up doing a lot of technical work. So what has the highlight of your time at the SDDA been?
I can say that it is not a walk at the park. At the same time, it is not a very tall order. I'm able to connect, do communications properly the way they're supposed to be, though there are a bit of challenges here and there, but in one way or another, I find myself also tackling most of the work that the technical officer do, because before it reaches to the department, it has to start from us. All the distress cases come mostly land in our offices. So at some point, I'm forced as an admin to tackle even the distress cases before I hand them over to the departments.
Okay. Yes. Thank you very much, Bentura. Let's clap for Bentura. Now, Debbie is one of the youngest officers that we have, in the sense that she has served at the SDDA for a short time. She started as an attaché, and then as an intern, and now recently an officer. Debbie, you have, in your very young career, handled some very tough assignments and some very exciting assignments, I would say. What have been some of the most tough assignments that you found yourself doing?
Good afternoon. My PS, TCS, Your Excellency, dignitaries, friends and colleagues. Thank you for this chance to share my experience. I started as an attaché in 2022. That time it was still a directorate, and majorly we focused on welfare cases, and it was really difficult, especially on the officers, since you have to, there's no way you can detach yourself completely from your work, and we had to sometimes break the news of the loss of a loved one to either a family member who has come searching for their loved one or relative. And in those cases, you would find where we'd have to talk to them, take them through the process. And at that time, of course, they are also in distress and trying to understand how it all happened. Yeah, and that's why it was such a good thing to have the support that being made into a State Department was given to us, because the first thing that the PS did when she came was to set up, to make sure that we have counseling, a counseling unit, and therefore we were able to now be able to deal with these cases now with the guidance of counselors, and this lessened the burden on ourselves. So I think the challenging aspect is having to interact with Kenyans and to take them through in instances of distress.
All right. So, and in your very, again, young career as a diplomat, has this been what you had hoped it would be? Is it different? Is it more than you asked for? Is it a walk in the park for you? What is if you reflect on that journey over the last 2 years now, how would you say it's been for you?
I would say it is an exciting time to be alive. Okay. I would not change this experience for anything in the world. You know, it sounds funny, but you can imagine starting as an attaché on a 3-month attachment. You know, I'm finishing school, internship, then I search for an opportunity somewhere else. But these are the people who are willing to mentor you, to see the potential in you and guide you, and the type of steward leadership that happens in SDDA, not only with the PS, but the directors. And thus you're able to, you know, you like the workplace and to look forward to providing service to Kenyans.
So if, Debbie, in a number of years, you stand where I stand, if you are a PS for Diaspora in some years to come, what are some of the things that you would hope to do?
Okay, being the I can imagine is it 4 million Kenyans having to carry all that load in your shoulders. And Madam PS, I know the times you leave the office and it is not 5 o'clock, which is the government time. I don't think it would be an easy task. It would be very intimidating to me. But I think that it's all in the right people. Having the right people who are being your arms and legs and helping you to perform and deliver on your mandate. For me, my most interesting, or the thing I'm interested in, is the transfer of social benefits for the diaspora. I think that's been a big issue. We also had an instance in the Nairobi job fair when a Kenyan diaspora came and asked me, now I have a car that I have and I'm about to retire abroad, and I would like to bring it back and also transfer my social benefits. How would I go about that? And it was a difficult question to ask. I'm thankful that there were other officers in the units who were able to assist me. So there are still some areas that we are growing, and we are engaging with stakeholders to bring aboard more services that can better provide for these, to cover the issues that the diasporas are facing.
Thank you very much, Debbie. Let's clap for Debbie. Before I come to Aidan, I want to introduce Burugo, who's the head of counseling at Diaspora Affairs. And I think just by saying that, we should all be clapping for him. Because if you've noticed a theme running through the conversations here, it has been the weight of the work, particularly as far as welfare is concerned. I'll tell you a quick story before I ask Mr. Burugo to stand and say something. When I took over this office and I held my very first meeting with staff, and I gave my big pitch, and I tried to explain to them the 6-point mandate, and I very quickly sketched out the Diaspora House, the one that you can see there, and that Romel's team is going to beam up shortly as I try to explain this is how we are going to meet the mandate. And then it was time for our staff to ask questions. The first question by a member of staff, who was Karaya. Karaya, are you here? Is Karaya here? Karaya, put up his hand and said, Madam PS, it's very nice to meet you. Could you please get us counseling? That was the very first request that I got from my team because of the weight of the work that they had done. And so we were very glad to have Mr. Burugo join us very quickly, and part of the reason we're hunting for him and he wasn't here is because this morning we received 72 Kenyans who have just been evacuated from Lebanon. And Mr. Burugo's team was meeting them at the airport just to make sure that we counsel them and we are able to receive them well. I think you should be clapping for Mr. Burugo, yes. So, Burugo, please, if you could stand, could you tell us very quickly what a day in the life of a counseling officer at the SDDA looks like?
Thank you so much, our PCS, our peers, dignitaries, and my colleagues. It's not an easy task because we encounter a lot of things, especially when we have issues that we have to break the news. And we are also human beings. You also feel with the people who have been affected, and therefore it is not an easy task. But the work has actually humbled us, and we are able to deliver. Therefore, what we do is we accept the situations as they are, and then we assist the family members or the people that we are attending.
All right, and where do you and your counseling officers get help? Because I know I have seen your reports. If I am not wrong, in the last quarter alone, you have counseled over 141 people.
Okay, as counselors, we are supposed to be done what we refer to as counselor supervision, and we normally go to our seniors. We also have our seniors who normally, where we go, and we explain to them what we have been experiencing, and we vent out. And in the process, we are able to heal because we are also at times affected.
Indeed.
Yeah.
Maybe say one thing about the Diaspora Mental Health Action Plan that you have been able to put together with your team.
Thank you, PS. I think that is the first task that you gave me when I came. I was assisted by my able brother, Boniface Musala. Actually, they helped me a lot with Mr. Etienne, and you composed a committee that helped me a lot in drafting that particular document. The document aims at looking at what challenges do these people face and what are the causes. And therefore, we did a desktop research. We also administered some questionnaires to Kenyans in diaspora and also the local staff, and we got back the feedback. And we also, in the questionnaire, we wanted to know how best can we assist our Kenyans diaspora whenever they have an issue. And that is what informed the development of our Diaspora Mental Wellness Action Plan, which will help us in helping our Kenyans diaspora in addressing the issues that are affecting them. And there are many. There are many. And actually we are trying, and we will finalize the document, and we have even sent some officers to go and gather more information that can enrich the document. And we are expecting by the end of the financial year, we'll have done with the Diaspora Mental Health Action Plan so that we can be in a position to assist our Kenyans well. In the content of that particular document, we are aiming to develop a curriculum whereby we can equip our officers with basic skills of counseling so that they are able to handle, because as an individual, I cannot handle all the cases. So what we need is to equip our officers, and therefore, in that particular document, we want to develop a curriculum that will give us an insight on how we can train all the other officers to have the basic skills in counseling. And in it also, we have mentioned that we'll be providing psychological debriefing for Kenyans who are coming from other countries whenever they have issues.
I want to thank you very much, Mr. Burugu. Thank you. So let's clap for Mr. Burugu. I want to thank you because of your dedicated service, not just to the many Kenyans abroad who even call in and who book counseling sessions online, but for your dedication in supporting our officers, because it has truly lightened the load and has allowed them to function well. I want to end by asking Aidan some questions. Aidan also began as an intern, is that right? You started as an intern and then eventually transitioned into an officer, and now you're a third secretary cadet.
Yes,
correct?
that's right.
Aidan, you were involved in the Sudan evacuation, is that correct?
Yes.
Maybe you could give us a little bit of your experiences from that event.
Okay, sure. Thank you, Madam PS, for that question. Your Excellency, Honorable Dr. Musalia Mudavadi, our Prime Cabinet Secretary and the Cabinet Secretary for Foreign and Diaspora Affairs, Madam PS, ambassadors present, and distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, my name is Mohsin Adan. I'm a third secretary cadet stationed at the Savings, Investments and Remittances Division that is within the State Department for Diaspora Affairs. And to answer the questions of Madam PS, Sudan evacuation was actually a bit of a challenge for us. It came when I was actually at the beginning of my career, so it was something new. I didn't expect that. It was quite challenging in terms of financial, even and human resources. At that time, we were very few officers, and I'm glad under the leadership of the PS, we managed to evacuate as many Kenyans as possible from Sudan.
Thank you, Aidan. I know now you serve in savings, investments, and remittances. Allow me to ask you one more question about your work in welfare, then we'll do a quick remittance question. On my second week on the job, one of the things I did while I walked around to sort of understand where my officers sit and so on, I walked in and found you holding a file. You might not remember this, but you were going to meet a family, people who had come to ask for information about their, I believe it was their sister. It was a trace investigation. They're trying to establish where she was. They had not heard from her for a few months in Saudi Arabia. Yes. This was in December 2022. And I remember looking at you because I knew that you were going to break the news to them and tell them that indeed she had been found, but unfortunately she had passed on. And I felt very saddened because I looked at him and he was an extremely young, he's still very young, but 2 years ago he was much younger. And you had to handle these kinds of extremely heavy matters.
Yeah, that's right.
Reflecting on that period and how we handle families and our clients, what are some of the things you think we have learned to do and we are doing better, and what are some of the things that you think we can do better as a department?
Okay, thank you. Just to answer that, I think one of the challenges that I experienced in the welfare division is to break news to the families of the deceased Kenyans. You find that the embassy sends us a letter with contact information of the families of the deceased here in Kenya. So for some of us, we were tasked to break the news to the families. It was a bit challenge because how can you start saying that your family so-and-so in Saudi has passed away, and some families usually get shocked, like they don't believe what happened. And sometimes they think it's a prank call. Like I'm calling you just to, for play. Some people take some time to process the news. So that was, I think, the most challenging part of my job as I started my career in foreign service. Yes, thank you.
I want to really thank you, Aidan, and I want to thank all of the officers here. If we could give them a hand. Again, what we had hoped to do here is not just for us to read out long speeches about the things that we've been able to do, but for you to understand from their perspective the work that we've been able to do. Thank you so much. Tuwapigie makofi tena tafadhali. So, Your Excellency, sir, I am really pleased this afternoon. One second. I'm really pleased this afternoon to welcome you to this Diaspora Day and to welcome all of you, friends, colleagues from within the ministry, from other government agencies, our partners, Kenyans, just to celebrate the work that we've been able to do here at the SDDA and to celebrate the part of the State Department for Diaspora Affairs within the journey of 60 years of Kenya's diplomatic journey. As we reflect on this journey, we can't fail to pinpoint the exceptional work that has been done by our 4 million diaspora over the years. So we can think about our diaspora dating back from the dates of the Kennedy's student airlifts, or even earlier than that, and how our diaspora have grown through various waves of migration, whether as students, whether as labor migrants, whether as dual citizens and permanent residents, and so on. And sir, these diasporians have had their journey anchored on Kenya's foreign policy, which is now really strong on the diaspora diplomacy pillar or the diaspora diplomacy theme, as we are now finding it in the newly launched foreign policy. Your Excellency, this pillar is really the bedrock on which this State Department was built, and from other organizing documents such as the Vision 2030, from the Constitution of Kenya that gives rights on dual citizenship, and so on, from the work of the Africa Union Constitutive Act, Article 3, on the diaspora, on the African diaspora, and so on. Your Excellency, the establishment of this State Department 2 years ago has really given us fire in our belly in terms of our service to the diaspora. And we have been able to make huge leaps in our service to the diaspora, whether it be on the welfare matters, whether it be on engagement, empowering and prospering. Your Excellency, one of the things that we did, as you know, when we set up this department was to ask ourselves, how are we going to achieve the things that we've set out to do? And we have always spoken about the Diaspora House, which is created, Your Excellency, and perhaps Romel's team, if you can put it up again, is created with an extremely firm foundation. We have a huge and very broad foundation of protection. We start with protection first. And then after protection, we build on a second layer, which is our engagement layer, where we have conversations with the diaspora and with relevant stakeholders. We build onto that empowerment, which has to do with initiatives such as helping diaspora find opportunities for work and for business development abroad. And then finally, Excellency, we work on the prosperity angle, which is really the roof. And that prosperity is the work that is supported very much by this, the work of the savings, investments, and remittances. There are many, many successes for us to speak of. And today, we could have enumerated them. But I thought it was much more important for us to hear about those successes from the various officers who indeed work to ensure that over the last 2 years, we've been able to serve Kenyans in over 100 cities around the world, taking mobile consular services to tens of thousands of Kenyans. We've been able, Your Excellency, to hold more than 20 diaspora engagements where we have spoken with diaspora in various cities. We've been able to evacuate thousands of Kenyans, either from Lebanon, from Sudan, from Israel, from Gaza, but even to do medical evacuations, Your Excellency, from near and far places like Tanzania or Albania. We have been able to do repatriation of our kin who have lost loved ones and their bodies have had to be repatriated back home. Excellency, we have been able to create an incentive framework that has allowed for diaspora remittances to grow in the last 2 years up to a point of 672 billion shillings in the last year, and we expect those numbers to go up higher. The confidence of the diaspora is at an all-time high in terms of being able to access government services, and we've been able to serve them in a consistent and a dignified manner. We want to hear from you, Your Excellency, your reflection on the work that we have done over the last 2 years, and perhaps you could guide us on what it is that you hope we're going to achieve in the next 2. Ladies and gentlemen, I want us to put our hands together and be upstanding as we welcome the Prime Cabinet Secretary and the Minister for Diaspora and Foreign Affairs as he comes to speak to us about SDDA at 2. Asanteni sana.
Thank you. Thank you, Madam Rosalind Jogu. Please be seated. The PS, Rosalind Jogu, senior government officials. I've seen Lucy Kiruthu, Excellencies, Ambassadors and High Commissioners, diaspora stakeholders and partners, ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. It is my pleasure to join you at this Diaspora Day. During this special week, as we continue to celebrate 60 years of Kenya's diplomatic journey. This gathering gives us an opportunity to recognize and celebrate and also appreciate the role of our Kenyans working, studying, and living abroad in shaping our diplomacy. They carry our flag high as brand ambassadors for our culture, heritage, tourism, sports, trade, investments, and human capital in their host countries. The Ministry, through the State Department of Diaspora Affairs, has organized this forum to hear from the diaspora and other critical stakeholders on how we can make our engagement even more beneficial, enriching, and focused on the socio-economic development of our country. This platform will enable us to have constructive discussions with the Kenyan diaspora on what more we can do together, areas of key focus, and strategies to employ to harness the opportunities available abroad. Our focus on the diaspora is informed by their growing contribution to Kenya's socioeconomic development, mainly through remittances, investment, and knowledge transfer. In the first 10 months of this year, remittances increased to a record 4 billion USD, that is over 520 billion Kenya shillings. We are anxiously looking forward to the figures as at the end of December. This is a remarkable increase of 17.8% over the remittances of 3.6 billion received during the same period in 2023. This cements the position of remittances as Kenya's largest foreign exchange earner, delivering more than the combined earnings from coffee, tea, horticulture, and tourism. It also sets us on the pathway to growing remittances to 1 trillion Kenya shillings by 2027. We appreciate the sacrifices that these Kenyans abroad make to dutifully send money home, directly impacting education, healthcare, small business enterprises, housing, gender equality, rural development, and poverty alleviation. We can enhance this contribution, particularly if we reduce the cost of remitting money from an average of 6% to the Sustainable Development Target of 3%. I wish to assure you that the government will work with all stakeholders to align with the SDG's universal value of leaving no one behind. Our primary goal is to achieve inclusivity and deepen access to affordable digital remittance and financial services. We are also working on a diaspora bond with technical support from the World Bank's Multilateral Investment Guarantee Agency, MIGA. This instrument will offer Kenyans abroad a secure investment while diversifying the source of financing for government projects. While providing a competitive return on investment, the bond will help Kenya to systematically move away from costly foreign loans to support its infrastructure and other capital development projects. Another key focus of our engagement with the diaspora is transfer of knowledge and skills. This will enable us to tap into initiatives that will support the bottom-up economic transformation agenda priorities and Kenya Vision 2030. I wish to commend the diaspora who are already involved in this, from the doctors and nurses who have hosted medical camps and established clinics to academics who seek to partner with our universities for research and the entrepreneurs who are expanding their businesses and creating employment back home. Further, we are implementing the global labor market strategy to secure quality placements for Kenyans abroad. We are deliberate about engaging countries through bilateral labor agreements and MOUs to expand opportunities that will help empower people, particularly the youth. As we do this, we undertake to enhance our capacity to offer timely and effective consular services, ensuring that the rights of every Kenyan outside our borders is protected. I can confirm our readiness to do exactly this. The State Department for Diaspora and Affairs has officers on call 24/7 to address the Kenyan diaspora issues and concerns. And we have listened to some of them a few minutes ago. I encourage you to use this platform for networking, information sharing, and providing feedback. Take advantage of this opportunity to forge partnerships that extend beyond borders and foster collaboration for propelling our collective vision forward. Let us put our minds together and agree on how to further leverage the skills, expertise, and networks for our diaspora in the broader narrative of Kenya's development. Let me conclude by extending my deepest gratitude to the organizers of this event and to all of you present here. Your contribution will enrich Kenya's diplomatic journey. Asanteni sana, and God bless you. Let me just try and pick up 2 points for a little emphasis. The first one is the remittances. We can no longer take it for granted. Kenya's shilling is holding out very well against other currencies, and if I peg it to the dollar, it's at around 129. We had seen a slide of the Kenyan shilling to 169 to the dollar. Now it is firmly holding out very well at 129 to the dollar. Take a moment and ponder. Suppose the diaspora decided that they are shutting the doors. What would be the likely impact on the strength or competitiveness of the Kenya shilling against the other currencies? So let's reflect very, very seriously on what we are talking about. Now, yesterday's paper, this is my second issue. Yesterday's paper, there was a very good story with the PS Treasury making a comment and saying that if they were to renovate or put the extension of the new Jomo Kenyatta Airport, they would need close to 260 billion Kenya shillings for a new terminal and perhaps the runways that would be required. That is, give or take, 300 billion Kenya shillings. Ladies and gentlemen, if we package an infrastructure bond, an infrastructure diaspora bond properly, well backed, you tell me, the infrastructure bond can raise not the 300 billion required. Initial figures now show us that if we do it well, we have the capacity to raise over 500 billion shillings through an infrastructure bond. That means the diaspora can build that new airport. It is possible. Through the bond, we can fund the road towards Uganda. It's an artery for Kenyans and indeed the countries that are landlocked, who are also our largest trading partners. Uganda, Rwanda, Burundi, DRC, South Sudan. Through this bond, we can do something very different. You can extend the SGR. You can do something about our medical programs. The list is endless. So we have potential. When India, who have a very strong diaspora, wanted to raise some funds, they put out their bond some years back, and the initial amount they were able to raise from their bond was the equivalent of $5 billion US. It was literally overheating. And they had to tell them, mos, enda pole pole kidogo. But there could be others. I think if you go into the history of what comes out of bonds from the diaspora, Israel, I think, has been perhaps the most successful. Over the years, they have raised close to $50 billion in bonds to support some of their programs. So this is clearly an area that we can, as Kenyans, help each other so that we liberate ourselves from over-reliance on development partners for our programs. There's an opportunity. Finally, I'll give 2 cases. When we were leaving UNGA earlier this year in New York, some Kenyans invited me in West Virginia. They are doctors. A consortium of doctors came together. They bought a pharmaceutical plant in the US. And those Kenyans, very brilliant men and women, have actually managed to develop a very good drug for sickle cell anemia that goes to the very young, because normally it's not easy to find that drug and it's very expensive, so that it can handle and support Kenyans or human beings who have the challenge with sickle cell anemia. And it's prone in malaria areas. East Africa is an area that has a lot of malaria. So chances are you'll find that sickle cell anemia is also there. Now, they have done it. They are now manufacturing. They are planning to make sure that they can make that drug, which no other person is manufacturing, so that it can become available to citizens of the world, and more specifically, to land here in Kenya, so that it can support those who have sickle cell anemia. These are Kenyans in the diaspora. On my way from Samoa, Commonwealth Conference, I stopped over in Brisbane, Australia, and we went to the Prince Charles Hospital. And there, again, we came across some brilliant Kenyan doctors. One of them is a top researcher in that hospital, working with his colleagues. They're also about to make a very major breakthrough, extremely critical in the field of medicine. And perhaps when they pronounce it, he could be a candidate with his colleagues for a potential Nobel Peace Prize in that field. And this is a young man who was also trained in Kilifi, partly at the Kemri Research here and Kilifi, then he's residing there. And I was shocked. These are Kenyans in the diaspora. And interestingly enough, what struck me as we toured the hospital is that I was walking beside him, but when we go to the lift, there was a life-size photograph of him in the lift. So I said, "What is your portrait doing on this lift?" And he said, "That is the way the hospital is recognizing his potential." Why am I bringing out all this? I'm bringing out all this to help Kenyans understand that when we talk about placements and opportunities, it is the whole spectrum of the opportunities. We want to support those who will have low skills, middle-level skills, and even the extremely high skills. This is what we are looking for. Opportunities must be created both in Kenya and externally. That is the footprint that we want to be able to have as a people. And this is why we believe that the week that we are having around diplomacy is so important, so that we answer some basic questions. Why does the President of Kenya travel? Because the Gen Z were asking this question. We have to answer it. We have to establish opportunities in Kenya. We have to establish opportunities abroad. We have to allow your talent to go beyond the boundaries of our country. We want to become a strong economy. And that can only be done by us working with the global community. If Kenya was to be an introvert state, a state that just looks inward and does not look beyond, you can imagine what we would be. Hata wewe kwa familia yako, kwa jamii yako, ukifikiri kwamba mwanzo na mwisho unakuishia kwa nyumba yako, utakuwa na shida. Ni lazima tujue kwamba Kenya ni pana, ulimwengu ni pana, na kujijenga ni kuhakikisha tuna marafiki kule nje. Ndio jamii zetu, watoto wetu wa Kenya, wa tabaka mbalimbali na talanta mbalimbali wapate nafasi ya kujimudu na kujijenga kwa sehemu mbalimbali ya mataifa yetu. Kwa hivyo tusimame pamoja tukijua kwamba lengo letu ni kutafuta manufaa kwa Wakenya. Na sio Bwana Mudavadi, mimi naelekea kwa kipindi kile kingine. Na wengi wetu tutaelekea pale. Lakini lazima tuache msingi bora, msingi wa maana kwa vizazi ambavyo viko, ambavyo vinazidi kuwa kwa wingi, kwa sababu ni 60%. Hawa ndio tunatafutia nafasi, na ndio kwa sababu mlango wa diaspora ni wa maana sana kwa uchumi wetu. Asanteni sana, Mungu awabariki.
Excellency, thank you. We would wish to present you with the Diaspora Investment Conference report. We had a fantastic investment conference report in 2013. PS, please come to the front. Thereafter, we are going to have a photo session. Mr. Munzala, welcome to present the report. This is a very instructive conference that we had because it leads to the diaspora investment strategy that we developed. As the report is being presented, I kindly welcome the other directors for a group photograph with the Prime Cabinet Secretary. Kindly, quickly make your way to the podium. Any directors who are not there? Sorry? Thank you very much. Excellency, we've come to the end of our formal program, and as you depart, we warmly welcome you to see the other side of the exhibition. Okay. Thank you very much. Yes. Dear participants, we have a program continuing. We have a panel discussion continuing. But in the meantime, can we have some music as the Honorable Prime Cabinet Secretary is viewing the rest of the... We can be seated. I don't know if the other panelists are there, but you're welcome.
Okay. Yeah, but the boss has left. We let the boss.
He's going to the answer meeting.
Yeah, I'm saying allow you to go through.
Yes.
Then I can just speak. Actually, I'm going to be brief. It's just about the statistics, because we provide the statistics to yourselves and the public.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Next in the program? Please, what's next in the program? This is your program.
Stop harassing me.
I'm not
Let me
harassing
ask
you.